gosh, I would kill yeah.
How many hours a week are you guys on right now?
We're 8 right now. Until we get like
20 hours start.
5. We can start whenever we want. We only get like a certain window. I think it's more in line with the E1.
Yeah, the same thing.
And
We're
then
staying
we
at
get
8 hours for a
5
while.
days. Usually it lines up with our spring break that we have extra days and we can ride that out. Because it's like, it's not a small amount, it's like 35 days or something like that. Stuff 20 hours.
Hey, what's up, man? Adam.
Nice to meet you, Tanner.
Nice to meet you. You can sit wherever you want. So we do have microphones. So you have a little microphone over here. You gotta like kind of talk right here, not real close, kind of far away. So just to let you know, but we're still waiting for Jason, so I'll probably call him.
So did that change recently?
It's been that way since I don't know when it changed, but I know it changed within like 2016 to 2020. It used to be 4 hours.
Yeah.
2 on a boat, 2 without. We're 8 hours.
Yeah.
So we train, or we live Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then we train Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
So okay. So when you say training 5 days, it's not always on the boat. Okay. But yes. But still, like that's you need that. That's nice. Well, I've said you guys got like a lot of starters over like Scott and all there. Wow. This is gonna be we're gonna be up against it this one.
We'll see. We'll set some time.
It's gonna be a battle.
Guys, how's it going? Jason, Josh, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, man. How's it going? Yeah, good, yeah.
Oh, it's just yeah. I mean, what's that? Probably a year ago. Well, it's been a year now, right?
We played you guys in the spring.
Yeah. Yeah. I took a hiatus in college for 4 or 5 years, whatever, and getting back into it. Yeah, not being the head coach, that's the key. Not being the head coach, that's the key. So yeah.
So you were assistant for a while?
I was head coach for 12 years, and then now I'm just the less pressure. I get, hey, what do you think about this guy? I like him, or I don't like him, or I can tell you, I got the easy question. So, it's good. Well, yeah, you still take it. You still take it. Yeah, still competitive enough where you still drive home and hope about it.
Yeah. Cortina fit. Well, like we haven't done anything big yet, but like he's showing in small spaces. I think that's like one of the questions. Like, what does it look like when you get bigger? Because like right now we've only been outside at like a arena style turf. We get out to a couple times a week base.
Okay.
He's been very good. He fits us really well.
We had a couple regular
meetings
where we mostly in spring.
He's married. We didn't even know. Okay. He's doing well. We have free doing for some time.
Yes. Hold on.
Trying to get healthy.
It's just a weird situation.
I know.
He was the assistant for a couple years. He's like, I was drawing at the time.
We didn't even have the conversations.
Oh, we just keep up there.
I think if he can
Case Western.
probably got my nieces and stuff.
Yeah.
They have probably a little bit more outside of soccer. Stuff like that. Which
Ryan Walker.
Jason, you sitting there?
I don't know. Oh, you put me over there. I didn't
Damn,
see,
bro.
I didn't see it. You knew I like water. I thought you put me over there.
no respect for you.
So, just to let you guys know, we have a live stream, so don't say anything inappropriate like we typically do. That microphone goes to the live stream. you don't have to do anything. It's just going to sit there. And then this microphone is for them. This one's like temperamental. Though. You gotta like, you can't get too close to it.
This
gotta
one
be
goes
good.
in,
You don't
that one
put
goes
it
in
in your mouth.
Yeah, so you don't
They
have
have
to touch
speeches
it.
on that table.
This one is.
So it like see in the ceiling.
The room.
It'll go all the way
Say,
back
I have to
there.
shout.
Got it.
Yeah, it'll go all the way back there. And then same with you guys.
Yep.
Microphone. You guys know
Yeah,
the
we're
deal.
fine.
So okay. Stop, dude.
We're a minute late.
Stop, dude. I'm so nervous. I think you know you've made it when you're standing up in front of everyone with a microphone. So just give me a round of applause real fast. Thank you. Thank you. For those of you that don't know me, I'm not that conceited. My name is Adam Jones. I work at Club Ohio, mainly as a boys soccer coach. I coach our 2010 and 2011 MLS Next teams, but I'm also the college recruiting coordinator and work in our facility and do some social media, things like that. So tonight, it's all about college recruiting. And for me, this is the third college recruiting night that we put together. And every single year it continues to get bigger, and every single year it continues to evolve. The first year when I was doing that with Steve Dawson, our former director of coaching, it was a lot of parents and kids listening to me and Steve talk about the college recruiting process. We had some college coaches up on panel, and then we didn't really involve them. And what we try to do is you hear from me less and less because what I say really doesn't matter, and I'm a resource for you throughout the rest of the year. And what really does matter is the college coaches that are in front of me. So tonight we have 4 great college coaches that are brave enough to sit up here and answer your questions. And here's how tonight is going to go. If you were a part of the online, so kids in our college recruiting age already had a Zoom call in which we talked about the college recruiting process from Club Ohio standpoint. So we talked about how we want kids to craft an email, what highlight tapes and how you should put that together, how to select ID camps, and how we can be a resource for you. Tonight is not about that, and we're not going to go over that. We already did. And if you're younger and you're here, you will get that information as you go through the college recruiting process and you get older within Club Ohio. But what tonight is it's really, I called it a round table, a Q&A with college coaches. And we have a panel, and then we'll kind of talk about how this is going to be set up. But let's talk about the panel themselves. So panelists, this is the first time that we're going to put you on the spot. I'm going to introduce you. If you could talk a little bit about your current position, a little bit about your program specifically, and when it comes to what division it is, what conference you play in, things of that nature, and maybe even a little bit about you. So what got you into college coaching, things of that nature. We'll start with Jason. All right. If you don't know Jason, he's been here almost every year. So thanks, Jason.
This is my 3rd year. Can you hear me at the back? I think it's awesome. Thumbs up. So yeah, Jason Griffiths, Audubon University, Division III. We're located in Westerville. Audubon has about 2,500 students. We're pretty heavy student athletes on campus. Also, boys to girl ratio is 60-40 in the favor of girls. So I'll just leave that out there. What else are you looking for? Why did I get into college coaching?
Yeah, what's your background, bro?
It's my background. Okay. Grew up in England. Came to America to play at the University of Kentucky. Played there for 4 years. Got drafted. Played a year in the MLS for New England Revolution. Got injured. Moved to Columbus, where my wife is from. We met at Kentucky. She played soccer there as well. She was a better player than me, as she says, but she also coached at Audubon, so that's a fun fact that I tell recruits when they come to campus. My wife was a GA on the women's side. She coached her sister there, and she took them to the Final Four, which she holds over my head as well, so we haven't done that yet. Hoping to do that this year. The Final Four for D3 is in Columbus, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, after I got done playing, I actually coached at Locker Soccer, which many of you I'm sure have been through Locker Soccer in PAL. It's 2-year-olds to like 14-year-olds. So I started coaching 2-year-olds. I've been coaching 2 to 22. So that's a pretty cool thing as well. After I was done there, I started coaching the club. Was at Classics Eagles for a while. I was a director there. Then I moved to Ohio Premier when I started Audubon's in 2017. So I've been at Ohio Premier since 2017. I used to coach the ECNL boys over there in high school. Now I coach my son's team. I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. So I coach the U10s and the U8s, which is fun. I'm also the recruiting coordinator at OP. So I'm kind of judging Jonesy on his performance tonight because I do this for OP. So he's doing okay so far.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
And we look forward to bringing Jason on staff in a couple of years, and also his kids coming over to Club Ohio. So thank you, Jason. Appreciate you. Travis Brown, University of Dayton.
Hi, my name's Travis. I coach the University of Dayton. We're a Division I program in the Atlantic 10 Conference. I think we're the only men's soccer program to make the A10 finals 3 years in a row, winning it 2 out of the 3 years. I started coaching back home in Virginia after playing for a little bit and was full-time at 3 different clubs within Virginia in the same area. Made a move to a Division III school, Christopher Newport University, where we made the national tournament 2 years in a row, which led me to come to the University of Dayton, and I'm in my 2nd year now.
Very cool. Quick and to the point.
Quick and to the point.
Nice job,
They all
Travis.
know me.
All right, John Eric Stiles from Cedarville University.
Hi, everyone. I'm John Eric. I'm the first assistant at Cedarville University. I've been there since 2022. I bounced around quite a bit from NAIA and Division III coaching basically right after I graduated from college. It's been a ton of fun. Gotten to meet and interact with a lot of awesome people. My college coach is actually here in the room for a different university. So I think it's always cool when you get to be impacted by people. And that's really one of the reasons why I got into coaching in the first place. Cedarville is Division II. We compete in the GMAC. Had a really awesome, strong program under the direction of Coach Farrow, which has been a ton of fun to just be able to work with.
Perfect. All right, and last but not least, Josh Merton from Mount Vernon Nazarene University.
All right. In my first year at, can you guys, is this still working?
Yeah,
Okay, I don't hear it.
close
Okay.
to that mouth, too.
Yeah, I don't hear it. Okay. Just finished up my first year as an assistant at Mount Vernon Nazarene. We are in the Crossroads division in the NAI. I would say it's probably the most brutal conference in the NAI. So about every year, about 4 or 5 teams going to the national tournament. So every year we're up against it. Mount Vernon obviously is just about half an hour, 45 minutes north of here. Previously, I've been coaching now for over, 25 years. Spent 12 years at Ohio Christian University as the head coach there. Had over 100 wins there. Took 6 teams to the national tournament. And 2 of those teams lost the national championship. 4 of those teams lost the national semifinals. So a lot of success there. Enjoying this, getting back into the college game, I guess. So, that it.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you, man. So the way we're going to be setting this up today, all right, we have talking points that we're going to be going through. All I have this year is going to be some questions, all right, and we want those questions to direct discussion to topics that we feel like are pertinent for our players and parents. I also want to utilize a QR code. So we have a QR code on every single slide that you'll see. If you use that QR code or scan that QR code, it's going to take you to a Google form. You can submit questions. I have my phone up here. I will be able to access those questions as you put them in there. And when there is time, or if it is something that is along the topic that we were talking about, I will be sure to ask that question. Additionally, you can raise your hand. That's fine too. All right. So if you have questions and want or can't wait till the end, please raise your hand and we'll answer those as best we can. Going back here, we have 7 different topics that we're going to go through. My guess is we won't get through everything. I think so. So there might be a couple that we kind of breeze through just to ensure that we can get to every topic that we feel like is important. The first one we're going to look at here is recruiting and evaluation. And the question that I want the coaches to talk about is, when you watch a player for the first time, what's the very first thing that makes you lean forward in your chair? So in the early parts of the recruiting process, whether it's a highlight video or a game that you're going to, what is something that stands out to you?
Any of you.
I think there's a couple of different things that really stand out, because I think to some degree, in a lot of spaces, there's not necessarily a shortage of good players, but like, how do they interact? How do they pick up their teammates? I think those things are often that are like soft skills that go a long way. Like, what are they like during warm up? What are they like in terms of like, if something gets hard? Like, I think being able to be great teammates goes a long way. I think that sets the ceiling higher than what somebody's overall abilities may be. I think that's just one of the things that I get excited about when I see guys competing, is like, what do they look like as teammates?
I usually stand at events, so I don't usually have this problem in a chair. But for me, it's more about decision making. I think there's a lot of things that we look for, and when you're watching so many kids at so many events, it's tough to sometimes be impressed by things because you see everything. And a lot of times, as the further the event goes on, it's like you've seen the same play a million times. So I agree. I think it's the things sometimes you can't see on a highlight video. You know, when a player makes a mistake, how do they react from that? When a teammate makes a mistake, how do they react to that? For me, decision making is important. You know, at the right time and the right moment, is the player trying to make the right decision? That doesn't always mean the player's going to execute that properly, but are they trying to make the right decision based on the situation at hand? And then are they technically good enough to execute as well? So again, a lot of things that go into it, but for me, decision making is really important, and how they're reacting when they make mistakes.
Yeah, so I mean, following up on what they said, both of those very correct, right? Want a teammate who's going to not only fit in with his teammates, but our culture and what we want to succeed, right? So, you know, I'll kind of hit on the follow-up. Does it differ by a position? We talk about being special at Dayton, right? Each position has a different special that makes them successful in our program. Whether it's a striker, can you get in the box? Can you get a touch on the ball, and can you get it on target, right? Or a winger, are you going to run by people? You know, if every time you get the ball, your first thought is to go by somebody, and if they adjust, what's your adjustment to that? He talks about reactions to good things, bad things. You know, we're kind of focusing on all of it, right? A goalkeeper, it could be, you know, either your communication. Sometimes you touch the ball once in an entire game, right? But are you active? Are you engaged? Are you talking to your back line, kind of being the reason that you're not involved so much, right? So we look for the special, right? Are you the center back who's winning every header? Are you jumping, you know, a foot higher than everybody else? Are you being the person who's making the recovery run and kind of winning everything like that? So kind of find what your special is and try to show that off as much as possible, and that's what's going to pique our interest.
This is the tough one because they've taken all the material, so I, you know.
Let's start with you next time.
That works. No, I would add 2 more things. One, you got to be athletic. So I want to see some form of athleticism, and sometimes if you're really, really athletic, that will jump out on this, you know, whether it's in the screen we're watching or if we're live at an event. So that's going to be the initial one, and then this will kind of tie into that teammate thing a little bit also, but. The best teammates are guys that are willing to defend in any situation. So if you're that 9 and you're not, you know, maybe you're not scoring a whole lot of goals, you better learn how to defend from a 9 position. If you're playing a 6 and an 8, or you're at a 10, you better be willing to get in and grind and defend with your teammates. So to me, what I'm looking for that's kind of separates, you know, everyone's going to throw their technical stuff out there. Everyone's going to do it. is, okay, what else are you doing defensively and, to help the rest of the people around you?
Very good. So what I heard there was be a good person, focus on your strengths, all right, what makes you different, and then also be willing to work and be willing to defend. All right, if I was going to summarize that up there. What's something families thinks, this is an interesting one. Travis and I were talking about it prior. I don't know. I don't really know what the answer to this question is, but what's something families think matters a lot in recruiting that actually doesn't move the needle for you? So thinking about the recruiting process, what do you think potentially they think is important that might not be as important, or we don't need to place as much emphasis on it as possible?
Yeah, I kind of stepped on that one, didn't I? Okay, PKs. All right, just right there. Just like right now, kind of a pet peeve of mine right now is the first thing I'm going to go in and I see a video and there's PKs. Okay, great, wonderful, I love it. You can hit a PK. You should be able to hit a PK, but don't put that as your very first thing. It's not for me. So people put a heavy value in that. I think they also put a heavy value in technical ability. And listen, I do too. I love a technical player, but if you're going to the college level, you better be really technical. Simple as that. Straightforward. And I don't really care what division. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't care if it's Division III, NAI, Division II, Division I. You got to have those skills. So, yeah.
Like Adam said, me and him were talking about this for a while, and it's a tough question to answer. I think high school to an extent of if you're at a really good program, great. But if you are playing against some teams where, you're scoring 4 or 5 goals a game, obviously you're good, right? I'm not taking that away from you. But if the talent level you're playing against isn't up to par for what we need, then that might not move the needle as much. Obviously, if you're scoring 5 goals a game, you're doing something right. Cool. But if it's just a lower division team and it's not the most challenging, then that won't move the needle for us as much as a club would.
Being a parent of kids at playing club, not recruiting yet, but I get to hear a lot of gossip on the sidelines, and I think parents get hung up a lot on records, wins and losses, accolades, team they play for, high school they're at. When we recruit, we might go and watch a well-known club team play, but at the end of the day, we're recruiting individual players. We're not recruiting teams. So, like, if I go watch a game and you're losing 6-0, to me, it's more about how you're reacting to that score and how you're performing in that game rather than what your team's doing. So, I wouldn't get hung up on results, which I know at your age, like, you should want to win, right? You should want to be competitive, but just because you're losing in the game, that doesn't mean you're throwing the towel. Again, I want to see how you react to that. So, clubs, accolades, things like that. I think some players can get big-headed about stuff when they do get a lot of accolades. We're not going to recruit you just because you're an All-American. I've had All-Americans play for me, and they don't start for me. They don't play a lot. And one of it could be because they're maybe a small high school and they got All-American at, a school, like you said, scoring 6 goals, but they're not really playing against anyone. But then sometimes they have big egos too, which I don't like. So, again, we're recruiting individuals, not teams, and definitely not records and accolades.
Yeah, I think something that families will often get worked up, or even players get worked up about, is just like getting offers and things like that, and like even just like posting about them and sharing about them. I think that's something for us as a staff that we understand is exciting, but at the same time, like, we want that to be, at least from our end, something that is like we're navigating between player, family, program, and that's not necessarily something that we love being blasted out, or even like getting like an email like, I have offers from these several places. To us, it looks like almost like fishing, kind of, for like what's going to give me the most. And I think going back to like things that stand out is like, we want guys who are going to be focused on what's good for the team and what's good for the guys around them. And it's a unique fit, and we want that to be the priority. So I think like something that sometimes gets overlooked is just like it's more of a private moment of like, okay, offers and things like that may feel like something you can leverage. But I think in a lot of ways, when we get reached out and kids are like, well, I have offers from all these places, it just kind of feels like fishing or not that genuine, or you're not actually that interested. You're just looking for whatever the best for you is.
Jason, I got to follow up, and this could be for anyone, but as you were answering that question, it got me thinking. So one thing I think our kids think a lot about, and I don't know the answer to this, is when kids are being seen at college showcases. So we take a team to a college showcase, and typically for a college showcase, playing time is going to be pretty much split equally. It's not a league game. How much stock do you put into starting at a showcase or playing time at a showcase?
That's a good question. I think it's good to see players do both. I think it's good to see a player start. I think it's good to see a player on the bench and how they react to that, how they come off the bench. In college, you don't know what your role is going to be. You could be a star. You could come off the bench. You might not ever play your first year. So there's a lot of different scenarios that could take place. So I think it's important to see how players respond in those different environments. But, for me, the biggest thing is knowing, if you know when you're going to play, that's the most important thing for me. I don't want to come to the start of your game and you don't play until the last 10 minutes. So if there's some type of communication that your coach can get to you, that you can get to the coaches that are trying to watch you play, where you can email a coach, hey, coach, I'm going to start the second part of the first half, and then I'm going to start the second half. That's really important information to us as we're trying to get around to as many games and see as many kids as possible at these events. I think a goalkeeper is the most important. I've gone to games at showcases and the goalkeeper's not playing the first half, and I'm scheduled to go see a different team play in the second half. So if the goalkeeper can communicate which half they're playing in, that's huge for us.
No, I'll go. Yeah, I mean, obviously, playtime is playtime, right? We want to watch you play. Like you said, tell us if you know. But the biggest importance is, if I'm watching you multiple times, if I'm genuinely recruiting you, and we're down this process, I'm not just going to one game. So at some point in the recruitment process, if your coach is genuinely rotating players, I expect to see you coming off the bench, playing a different role. Now, the flip side of what can be really negative for you is how you act to not starting, right? We've seen, in coaching club for so long and being in the recruitment process like everyone else here, we can see someone who starts every game, but if they come on and don't have the same energy to keep the game going, then that's very telling for us and what it might be if someone's not playing, right? Even in college, we had a kid at Dayton 2 years ago when we made our run to the Sweet 16. It was a striker who, scored a lot of goals, did really good on the press, but he started only scoring when he came off the bench. Now, he didn't love that he started coming off the bench because of it, but it was something that, one, made him play better. It made us as a team better, and he kind of had to adjust. So, is he not as good because he didn't start? No, because he still scored more than everyone else on the team. So everyone's going to have a different moment, a different role. Everyone's journey is very different. So how you respond, how you act, like he said, is all that matters.
All right, now we're talking about the recruiting process. Once again, how many times do you realistically need to see a player before making a recruiting decision, and in what settings? And so I think a good kind of caveat to this question is, what does that recruiting process really look like? So if you're saying, I'm going to dumb down this recruiting process, and this is how many times I on average see a player, it's film, it's in person, it's this, what would that look like?
I can start.
For us, at least 2 to 3 times. So that's in addition to watching probably your highlight tape, which might be the first contact sometimes if you reach out to us. Then we want to see you play. If you're a club team, ideally, High school is okay if you're local and we can get out there, but obviously you're in season the same time as we're in season, so sometimes that's tough. But definitely going to events, showcases. We love going to Florida this time of year, so that's not a problem for us. If you're local, I've been out to Club Ohio sessions before training sessions, where we get to see players train in their environment with their coaches, which is nice. So as 2 to 3 times minimum, but as many as we can, just to kind of see you in different environments and see you play against different teams too is important. I think, going down to Florida and playing against the Florida teams is different than playing against the Midwest teams. Some of those games can get chippy and, different personalities and stuff like that. So it's fun to kind of see you in different environments and kind of see you get tested a little bit. But yeah, video 2 to 3 times is ideal, and then trying to get as many eyes on you as possible. So, for me to watch you play is definite thing, and then for my assistants to hopefully get to see you play as well, so we can kind of bounce off each other and see where you fit into our program.
Yeah, I'll jump on that one. Yeah, I would say about 2 to 4 times what I was thinking. I kind of want to hit on the camps thing though a little bit. The initial contact will be obviously with video, then probably see you at a showcase. And for some coaches, they can't communicate with you in the showcase, depending on rules and whatnot. And so then that next one is camps. I think camps is where you can start creating that relationship with that athlete, because now I have an access to be able to communicate with them, in a lot of opportunities in 1v1s. And so to me, that's going to be where I've seen you 2 or 3 or 4 times, whatever. Now that next step is I've seen you at this camp. I've had communication with you. I like the direction that's going. Okay, now can we move forward from there? So to me, like kind of going on the follow-up question, I think that camps are really valuable in that way.
How many of you guys have highlight tapes? Raise your hand. Okay, most. How many of you have updated it within the last 4 to 5 games? Not as many. So I think like being able to see you guys play is really important. What that number looks like for us, it really just varies. But it is in a lot of ways a job to be able to keep updating your highlights. Something that I would always encourage players to do is like every 4 to 5 games, create a 2.5 minute clip of your best moments from those games. And that in a lot of ways that helps to build the relationship process, because that gives you something to reach out to and share with. And it's not just kind of like a stale where it's like, we don't really know where you are and how you're developing because we can't get to an event or a league game or whatever it may be. But I think one of the things is more important than the frequency that we see players is, I'd have to actually go through the roster, but I want to say upwards of 75% of all players in our program played in front of us on campus. That's an extremely important part of our process, and something that's even unique to Division II is like occasionally we will have players train with us. Now that's not a commonplace. That's generally something that we're doing because we feel like someone is a good fit for us, and we think that they have the capability of playing with us, and that's just in some ways that's a touch point and a look. But most players, whether it be ID camps, things like that, are playing in front of us on campus. And that's generally how we're making the majority of our decisions, is like seeing players play in our context.
Yeah. So very similarly, we don't have a set number of times. I think it looks different for a lot of different people who end up coming to Dayton. I think seeing you at a showcase, we want to see you with your team and your environment, watching you warm up, watching you on the bench when you're not playing, watching just how you react to a bunch of things. But then maybe we're bringing you to an ID camp because we want to work with you. We see some qualities. We want to see if it works in our environment, in our formation, in our setup, and in our coaching styles. And then, maybe I have a bit of feedback that I think we need to see you progress before you are able to come fit in our environment. And, we'll give you that feedback after camp, which is what that is almost for. It's to identify you, but then also identify what needs to happen for you to fit in with us. So, we'll have a conversation and say, hey, here's what we're looking to see. We want to see if you can start doing this. And then, from there, it's either after some time, can we get you back to another camp to see if it's changed in our environment, or can we watch you at another showcase or two and see kind of what you do on your own? So not necessarily we need to see you 2 or 3 times. Somebody it's we'll see once and we're confident enough, or someone it's I want to see if you can adapt and adjust and do what we would need you to do, which might be something completely different than you're doing now.
We got a question about grades in the recruiting process. That is going to be a question that we go over here. So I just want to let you know, kind of to go off of what John Eric talked about with the highlight tape. That will be another avenue that we talk about. But kiddos, one thing I talk about with players is creating a YouTube channel. And then you just upload all your film into that YouTube channel. And then when you are sending a link to coaches, it's not a link to that individual film, it's a link to your YouTube channel and they can see that. So spot on the money there. All right. Next one, what separates a good player from a college ready player at your level? I think as we go through the college recruiting process, all of our players at Club Ohio are good. All of them are good at this rate and where we are. But what makes them college ready in your mind?
Yeah, I think it depends. Everyone obviously plays a different way. Are you fit? I know that'll be a topic later on, but are you fit? Being a good player in club, you can get away with not being fit sometimes. But in the college setting, when now we have more rules of we only have a few windows, and those windows dictate whether we keep our jobs or not if we use the windows properly, right? Whether we win. So, one, are you fit? Can you run for 90 minutes? Some of you, everyone is going to think that they're game fit, they're college fit going into it. And you're going to find out in preseason that you're not, which is part of it. You'll go through it, you'll adapt, you'll adjust. But I think that turns a good player, someone who's really good at soccer, to a college ready player with a different level of commitment, right? It's a job when you get in college, essentially. The same hours, you're going to have school on top of it, but you need to be prepared to do everything outside of school, outside of practice itself, to one, make sure your body's ready, which is the biggest adjustment that we see, and two, that you can learn to read the game. It's a lot quicker, right? A good club team and a good college team both have great players, but both have different speeds of play. So those are probably the two biggest things that take a good player to a college ready player at our program.
I would say mentality. We've already kind of talked a little bit about being, going out and recruiting players and watching how they act when things don't go their way. And there's a reason for that. And that is so because we want to see you deal with adversity. How are you mentally strong in dealing with those tough situations? How are you in dealing, okay, you just got a yellow card, are we going to go off the handle? When we sub you out because you have a yellow card, how are you going to do those mental things? I think take you from that next level because you're able to overcome difficulties because it's going to come. It's going to come.
I'm gonna jump in here real fast and ask a follow up to Josh. So Josh, you talk about mentality. I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, sure.
Talk about mentality a little bit, and obviously you can learn that from watching specific moments. Are there other ways that you learn about players, their habits, their mentality outside of just watching games?
Outside of just watching games, I mean body language, right? Yeah. So I would just like if I'm going to go watch them at the game, I'm going to how are they acting in just specific moments. I'll even watch guys when they're done with the game. How are they acting with their coach? How are they acting with? So I'm assuming this answers your question or not. But I'm looking at all of those that kind of and feeding off of what John Eric said earlier. I'm watching all of these little things outside that to see what their mentality is because. I'll give you an example. I have a current player right now and struggles with that area, and as in club, not at the college level, but struggles in that area, and we will not be interested in that because he will not adapt well into that next game. Yep. So, thanks.
So I have 3 things. I think attitude and effort, which a lot of that is in your control. I mean, sometimes there's things happen in the game where, the opposition can get into that with you. But I think a lot of attitude and effort is under your control. And those are big things I look for when I'm watching the game, and talking about after games. Big thing for me is, because I go to benches after games sometimes when I coach, is are the players from the previous game picking up the trash from the bench when they leave. I think that's a good sign of a good character from a player. Physicality, not just being big, but playing big. You don't have to be the biggest kid in the field to be aggressive and play tough. We have a kid at our program that actually played for Club Ohio. He happens to be, I think, like 6'3". Lincoln Wallace is freshman of the year in our conference for us. But he plays like an animal. And if he was 5'2", he would play the exact same way. He's just a beast. He'll run through people. He does all the dirty work. So I think, physicality is a big thing. It's a big jump from high school and club to the college game. And then for me, I like players that have an edge. And that can be different by position. If you're a defender, you need to be yapping the whole game. You need to be aggressive. If you're a midfielder, you need to be doing the dirty work, getting up and down the field. You need to cover for people. You need to let people know the standards. And if they're not doing their job, get on people. If you're a wide player, that means go and buy people. And anytime you get the ball, for me, if you make a mistake, if you lose it, get it back. Get it the next time, go at people again. So I think having an edge is something that can separate you. And that edge is, what do I have that no one else has? What do I have that they're trying to recruit that I can do better than anyone else in my position? So attitude and effort, being physical, being aggressive, and then having an edge.
I think one of the biggest things is, once you get into the college landscape, like, there's just going to be good players everywhere. But not every good player in the college setting is successful. And I think a lot of what it comes down to is controlling what they can control. And like Jason shared, like, you can control your attitude, your effort, your energy. You can choose whether or not you are an outstanding teammate. You can choose whether or not you show up every day, you come early, you're taking care of your body, you're fit, you're ready to go. You can't choose how much time you get. You can't choose whether or not there's somebody that's older and more experienced within the program that's just ahead of you. And I think one of the things that, for us, really college ready is just like, how quickly can you adapt to our context? Because we want to be a team that is unlike any other. Like, what that looks like is the guy who's number 30, who knows going into the game, unless we get up a lot or something really, really bad is going on, like, they may not see the field. And are they the guys that are going to be bringing the energy from the sideline? Are they the guys that are going to be picking each other up? Are they the guys that are continuing to lift up everyone because we have a common goal? I think fighting the zero-sum game of, like, I can't be happy for my teammate because they're playing in front of me. Success for the team is success for everyone. And so I think guys who can adapt into that mindset quickly are often the most successful in the college environment.
We had a question that was submitted about highlight tapes, so here you go. What makes a good highlight tape for you? And then the follow-up there, what are the red flags or no-nos of highlight tapes?
For me, so highlight tape, the first 3 or 4 seconds should be player profile information. So maybe a picture of you, your GPA, your height, if you're tall, maybe not if you're small, but added anyway, GPA, ACT, SAT, phone number, email. And that, I say 3 or 4 seconds because we can pause the video and write that stuff down. That doesn't need to be long. Next piece should be your best moments. Start with your best bits. Don't leave them to the end because we won't make it to the end if you leave them there. So, if you've got a volley that goes in the top corner, if you are a defender, you make a big tackle. If you score for cross, something like that, it's going to stand out, and then keep those coming, your best pieces. And then if you're ending with your worst pieces, just leave those out the tape. So, everything on there should be a highlight reel, which means it should be excellent. We don't want to see the rest of the stuff. So if it's 2 minutes of great stuff, just be 2 minutes. And then at the end, if you want to do the same thing you did at the start, the last 3 or 4 seconds, their profile again, just in case you want to pause it at the end. Red flags, inappropriate music. I don't listen to music on a highlight tape. I viewed it, but I know Brian Mason was here from Ohio State. He likes Eminem. So if you're emailing Ohio State, put some Eminem music in there. And then training highlights I had on there. I don't need to see your training highlights. Yeah, that's it.
I've already said no PKs. I don't mind PKs to save it to the end. I mean, I don't want to see the very first thing as a PK. And please, 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 no slow-mo. No slow-mo. Just that. That's horrible. Don't need to see that. So I'll see a goal, and then we'll have a slow motion of the goal. If I really want to see a slow motion, I can do that on my own. Thank you. So, and I would go back. The music. Be careful with that. Be really careful with that. And yeah, I think you covered pretty much everything else. Yeah.
This one's going to go off the slow-mo, and it might catch you by surprise. Do not speed your video up to look faster. I've seen that a few times.
Yeah.
We can tell, right? If you alter what you are one, just not setting yourself up for success when we see you in person. If you speed your video up and you look like someone who's going to run down the sideline and be our fastest player, and then we watch you and you're average at best with speed, then the trust is gone and it's just starting off to a rough spot, even if you are talented and technical enough, right? And music might be one of the biggest pieces of. We see a lot of highlight videos and they're starting to get very similar, but music can either make or break you in some weird ways, right? So if it's a good song, it might last 30 more seconds on the video, even if I'm a little skeptical, right? It's just brightening my day. Or I might be playing something where, if it's a bad song, someone else in the office can tell me to mute my laptop. So just something to think about when you're looking through and making it.
Can I jump in real quick? Feed off of that. Sorry. By the way, we talk. All of us. It's a small community, and so if you're altering your video, like he said, sooner or later that's going to get to other college coaches. We all talk about different players and all those things that goes on. So don't think that this is just a specific moment. You know what I'm saying? So present yourself in the best way you can, because that does send ripples to other coaches.
Yeah, one of my biggest pet peeves is the time. It really does not need to be longer than 2 minutes. I think that's why that there's a benefit in you guys need to take ownership of creating and being diligent every 4 to 5 games, creating your best highlights. That's going to be far more attractive than like a full season compilation that's 6, 7, 8 minutes long. I promise you nobody's watching the end. Again, no slow-mos, no replays. I prefer just the noise of the field. I don't need music. Just something to identify who you are. And then along with what he said about like the intro, don't like film yourself talking about it, because then it's harder to see. Like the information is helpful, height, class, position, like we can pause it. If you're just talking through those things, we have to sit down and listen to it maybe once or twice just to be able to get it all. But like all that information is really helpful.
Perfect. Yeah.
Just lastly, there's websites or apps that you can use to circle yourself in the video. Sometimes it's hard to see you or which play you are, especially if you're on the far side of the field, unless you're a goalkeeper, obviously. But if you're the left winger and you're on the far side of the field, just circle yourself, especially if there's like numerous passes and you're at the end of the play as well. Just highlight yourself at the start of that clip.
We had a real hot take last year in our girls meeting, and one of the coaches said you should put a highlight of you making a mistake so we can see what you do when you make that mistake. Some of the worst advice ever. Don't do that. I just want to be really clear. That was a wild exchange. So they won't be back. All right. When is the right time for a player to start reaching out to college coaches? So thinking about timeline now, we've got some of our younger guys in the room here, some freshmen. I think that might be maybe an 8th grader or 2 in here. So when's the right time for a player to start reaching out? When do you start to have serious conversations with players? And is there anything such as too early or too late?
Yeah, so I'll start with this one. I don't think there's necessarily too early. We may not genuinely start the recruiting process. So if you want to send it early, you need to be prepared to be patient, right? We have timelines. We can't always, flex. So we can't flex our timelines to meet your standards all the time. So sometimes you have to be patient. I think a big thing is knowing who can talk to you when. I can't talk to you when you're a sophomore. So if you send me something, you're going to get the same generic. The NCAA will not let me talk to you. Here's our camp. That's all I can send. So, if you're going to reach out, if you're going to send me your schedule just in case I might be able to go watch you at an event, you still have to be prepared for me to not have a conversation with you. I think it's different for everyone else in here. Everyone has a different timeline that they can talk to you, or a timeline when they want to recruit people. But, some people here aren't even working on 27s yet. They're still fixing their 26. And, if you're a 27, you should be reaching out to people right now. You should be in that process. But at the same time, if you have a priority school, you have to be prepared to one, ask them realistically what their timeline is so you can figure it out. But two, does it align with yours? How can you, still set yourself up for success, but genuinely focus on a program? There's definitely too late. There's always a too late. I think it just depends. We've signed someone in May, which kind of seems crazy. We don't love to do that. Being done early is a big stress relief for us. But at the same time, if you're the right fit, if you're what we need, we'll be a little bit flexible as much as possible.
One thing, if you guys could do, just like Travis, talk about the NCAA rules behind that for your division as well.
Great job, Travis.
You're welcome.
Well, we're in the NAI, so it is the wild, wild west. So there is no rules. So we can recruit you when you're 2 years old if we wanted to. But I think the thing that we have to look at with any school is the size of the staff. Okay, so we just get done watching college football, and they've got 25 to 30 guys on staff, and every single one of them is recruiting and yada, yada, yada. Well, on our staff, we have one full-time head coach and 3 part-time assistant coaches. So that equals almost 2 full-time coaches doing that kind of work. So if you do the numbers, getting out there and seeing people, and it's not as fast, as quick as you'd like. So I personally like to establish relationships. I'm a relationship type person. I like to get to know people. So me personally, if I can get to know you through, as a freshman and through camps, meet you, see you develop over the years. We've talked about development also, earlier. See you develop, see how things are going. And then by the time, you're finishing up your junior year into your senior year, we can make that commitment. Then that's the ideal situation. So, yeah.
NCAA Division II recently changed its rules for contact. We can now electronically communicate and begin a recruiting process with sophomores. And I guess freshmen as well. I think while we can, we're just not in that timeline to be able to do so. So for us, there's definitely not too early to reach out. If Cedarville checks the boxes that you feel like you can see yourself being in a school, we want to be able to have as many interactions with players as we can. We often refer to the recruiting process as trying to build out kind of your individual resume with us as a program. The more touch points, the more times we can see you, the more times we can have you on campus, whether it be at ID events, just kind of visit days, different things like that. That's all positives moving towards. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are on our end at a point to become really serious. I would say we operate in a little bit of a year-long window. So typically we're wrapping up classes around this time of year, and that's when we start to fully focus on the next class. And then they get about a full year to this point next year, and then it just kind of repeats itself over and over again. We're aware of juniors, but we're still very much building out the pool of who do we need to see, who do we need to interact with, who do we need to get on campus, as we just continue to build a pool of guys that might be a good fit for us and be able to navigate that process.
Yeah, we're pretty similar. I mean, D3 doesn't have many rules. We won't recruit you at 2, but we typically recruit as your juniors. We do have guys reach out to us as freshmen, sophomores, but our communication with them is kind of, we're not that far ahead in the process right now. We need to wait a couple years. Some of it's staff, some of it's just how we like to recruit. And for us, we typically will be a little later in our process. So, for us, it's kind of a never too late, because we'll try and recruit kids that want to go D1. I mean, I'm sure everyone in here wants to go D1, just like everyone else in the country does, and then play for the national team and go to the World Cup. But obviously that doesn't happen for everyone. So, we'll wait a little bit on those guys that want to go D1. So we've had guys commit even in May, June of their senior year because they didn't get any offers from D1s. Then we reach out and kind of start that communication a little bit later. So the process of applying, getting accepted, packages and stuff is late. But for us, it's kind of never too late if you're a good player that's going to help our program.
Yeah, good story in Otterbein, and Club Ohio kid is Eli Traber. Eli Traber was on our 05-06 team, was in deep talks with a Division I school that we were pretty sure he was going to get an offer from. On signing day, they told him, we don't have a spot for you. And that kind of crushed him, and he decided to go to OSU and follow a girlfriend. And didn't go great. After about 2 months, he contacted me and said, I want to play soccer again. And now he's at Otterbein. They're starting center back and doing pretty well. So
I did try to recruit him after he got let down by the D1 school too. So that's another key point, is don't burn a bridge, because Eli did a really good job of communicating with me. So don't burn a bridge with coaches.
Yeah, and his girlfriend broke up with him. So
that helped too.
All right. I had a question about ID camps, so good timing here. How should players decide what ID camps they should attend? I think the question that was submitted was, when do ID camps typically happen, and what age should players attend ID camps?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you want to get out of an ID camp. I think there's a few layers of what you can get out of it. Is it just an experience? If you want to be comfortable with it, then yeah, go as a sophomore, go as a freshman. If it's somewhere you can see yourself and you just want to, be in the environment before it's make or break for your career, then yeah, go ahead, right? But the reality is, when we start recruiting you, that's when I would suggest an ID camp. So there's 2 ways to make an ID camp very beneficial to you. There's either be the best player there, so we realize who you are if we haven't talked to you, or it's communicate with us before, right? If I know who you are, if I know your name and you come up and you say, hey, Coach Brown, like we've talked, blah, 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 like excited to work with you, then in my head, I'm going to notice you a little bit more because I have that relationship with you, right? Recruiting, obviously a lot about soccer, but it's a lot of, relationship building of, I need to be, one, comfortable with you. I need to understand you outside of soccer. So, if you go to an ID camp, reach out to us before. I think we'll respond, right? We're at Dayton, we're always up for a phone call before a camp to one, talk to you, make sure it's worth it. But 2, I want to know, 1, why you're coming. Is it just because you want to play soccer? Is it because you're genuinely interested in the school? If I know that before, then we have a good starting point.
Yeah, I think ID camps are beneficial if you're going for the right reasons. So doing your research and making sure you're going to camps that you're actually interested in the school. You're probably going to get a lot of invitations for ID camps. and some of those are genuine, some are not. But make sure you're interested in the school, and then other schools will also invite different college programs to their ID camp to coach at. So, for example, Ohio State will invite 4 or 5 other college programs to their camp. So look at that and see if the school you're interested in is going to that camp as well. It doesn't have to be the school you're interested in. Exact camps do the same thing. There's other camps out there too that do the same thing, where there's 7 or 8 different college coaches and programs there that you might be interested in. So I think that's the more bang for your buck, is if you can go somewhere where there's numerous coaches and schools that you're interested in. But for the experience as well, I think it's good to test yourself against other players, especially if it's an ID camp and a school you're interested in. What other players are interested in the school? How do I stack up against them? I think going as a freshman is not the worst thing in the world if it's a school you might potentially go to, and making that connection with the coaches and seeing them coaches year after year, and them seeing your development as a player year after year as well is important. If you've been going for a couple of years, and next year you go back and like, oh, this kid's been here for a couple of years, he's pretty interested. He says hi every time. He's super polite. He's got good grades. I think that can only help you in the process.
Yeah, I think there's definitely not an age where it's like, oh, you're too young, because I think you can always get a valuable experience from it. Like playing and rubbing shoulders with older players, I think is always a positive. And then outside of the high school setting, not one that players here in the U.S. get a lot of opportunities playing against bigger, faster, stronger, older players. So I think a lot of times those can be positives for younger guys. But I think just in general, like doing your research ahead of time. For instance, like Cedar, we're a Christian university. Do you want to be at a Christian university? Like those need to be questions that you would ask yourself before coming to an ID event. When we host our events, like we want to bring in other like-minded universities, because if we have, say, however many kids there, a typical class for us is 6 to 8 players. Like if there's more than that, not everyone has the opportunity to be able to play at Cedarville. But like Coach Merton said earlier, like we talk to each other. I'm able to speak with Mount Vernon. Maybe they're there. I think there's a lot of opportunities there. And I also think like he said, it's like some camp invites are genuine. Like look at the roster. Do they have many freshmen? Do they have any? Are they solely international based? Like I think those are important questions to be able to ask. Like, okay, is this valuable for my time to be able to be in this type of setting?
We've kind of touched base on it, but to kind of make it a little bit more specific, start broad. So you go to an ID camp. If you want to start as a freshman, sophomore, okay, fine. Try to find that broad ID camp where you're going to get more bang for your buck. Then when you start getting down to, by your junior year, where you're like, man, I really like this school. Then you want to go to that individual ID camp. Okay, so it starts off broad, and then it can start whittling down to where you are getting to that specific school.
This next one, I get a lot of questions about. So increase in recruiting services around the country. I think all of you have probably gotten a call from MCSA at some point trying to get your money and make a profile. So college coaches, let's get it from your perspective. How often do you use these recruiting services, these databases, or these, for lack of better term, player agents?
Okay, so if we're talking about international students, there is an agency that, different agencies that you work through from that standpoint. So what's that?
These kiddos.
Yes, right. And I'm talking, but from the standpoint of NCSA or all the other ones, I haven't looked at one in years. Don't care.
My biggest pet peeve with Sports Recruit is if you email us on there and I respond to you, it goes to your Sports Recruit. And then when you email me again, I'm going to forget the last thing I said, because unfortunately I get a lot of emails. So do the work, just make it on your own Gmail, and I can see our conversations. I can see the timeline. I can see when we started, right? But if I have to hope that I remember, now don't let us mess up. Don't give us a chance. Don't give us a chance to miss something, to forget something, to maybe confuse you with someone else who has a very similar name. do the work yourself, right? Make the emails personable, make them one after the other, and then we can go back, we can check, and we can see one, how you've responded to our decisions on things, how you've responded to our timeline, how much you followed up. If you have a trend in, are you mentioning my name every time? Or am I getting the generic, hey, coach, really like your school, but then you know nothing about us. So do the work, make it, through your real email. The agencies, the services, they might play a part in recruiting, and you can find a reason for some of them to be helpful. But I think an hour a week of more work on your own is more helpful than what most of these services can give you.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's better to do it yourself. Like if your club provides the sports recruits or NCSA, fine, you can use it, but it is extremely frustrating to be 8 messages into a conversation. Each one appears in my inbox as a completely different thread, like without being connected to each other. Like if you're going to use it to store your highlights or personal information, okay, that's fine. But I would highly recommend using a Gmail account, creating your own, having your name, your grad year, like those types of things in there, because that's ultimately what it's going to do. I'm not like any type of agency type of email that I get that is highlighting recruits or things like that. It just goes straight into the trash for me. Like they don't know what I'm looking for. They don't know you all really, and it's just like trying to get names as far out as they can. Like we're accessible. Shoot us an email. Start the conversation that way, and be genuine.
I think the need or your need for these services depends on how good your college recruiting coordinator is. No one uses them OB, but no, I'm in line with these guys. I think Adam does a really good job promoting you guys. You guys go to good showcases. I think there's places you go to highlight yourself. I know part of the question is probably referring to individual agencies and people that put their work out there and require you to pay big sums of money. But I've been recruiting guys before that I've been talking to them, like I'm talking to Adam right now, and he'll go out and pay someone $5,000 and he'll still end up coming to me. So you just wasted $5,000 because I was already talking to you. So if someone approaches you, I would recommend you talk to Adam to see if that's a need for you and your family. But again, the sports recruits I think is useful. I think it's better than CSA. But again, personal emails, which I think we're going to get into, is the way to go. And I'm a big texter as well. So if you're on a text basis with me, you're probably you're in good hands. Alex.
I was like, oh my God, what'd I do?
Time's up.
I got it. I don't want to do that. Now I'm going to draw. There we go.
Good save.
There we go. A bunch of NCAA rules. This is me. Sometimes when I was a teacher, I taught high school English for 5 years. And sometimes the nice thing about being a high school English teacher is you can ask a question, you don't know the answer, and you just let them talk. And you go, yeah, that's interesting. This is me doing that in a way. I don't know all the NCAA rules and changes over the last couple of years. Could you tell us about those and how have they impacted your program or how you go about recruiting players? And then a follow-up to that and probably a second part to this question. Maybe we just focus on the rule changes, but transfer portal, how has that changed college athletics?
Yeah, I'll start as probably the person most affected by this. I'm on the same boat. I don't know all the rules that are passed because they pass one every other week. It's ever changing, right? But the biggest one, 28-man roster, scholarships from different programs have got more. Quite a few have actually cut scholarships at the Division I level, and then some schools now are starting to get into NIL money, which is a nightmare beast of its own. But from Dayton's perspective of what has changed for us, not too much. We opted in, and we're at a 28-man roster. outside of that, not much has changed. We're not throwing the NIL money around, so I wish we had a bunch of money to give. I think that'd make recruiting a lot easier on our end. But in that sense, I'll go ahead and hit the follow up while I have the mic though. The portal has changed a lot. We have people who everyone who comes to us has the idea that they want to go play pro, and that's great. We love that it's an extra motivator. From my time in Division III, everyone had the same aspect of they still want to go play after college, whether what level that is, they want to find something. But that has driven a lot of people to go look for somewhere they can play. I don't necessarily think it's always been the right timing of when they choose. It's okay to stay through a program and work and grind it out. But at the same time, it is perfectly okay for if the environment's not right for you to find something different. But the portal has a great tool. It's a bright red bold letter that says MT, and that shows multiple transfers, and that lets us dictate. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe it wasn't a great fit, or the head coach left, and that's fine. Or maybe it's someone who didn't want to stick it out and just wanted to leave. So a few things that you have to think through, around the portal, and that is, it's not always just a tool to get you out of something, right? Use it because it's getting you in the right environment, not just leaving somewhere you're not playing.
Division II was not affected by the CBA and the roster limitations. There was a proposal that went and was voted on this past January it was originally penned as Division I and Division II, and then got rewrote for just Division II, 5 years of eligibility. That did not pass, but it's going to be revoted on in 2028. It was pretty close to passing this time, which would have affected things immediately. So a senior who just played their last year of eligibility, had it passed, would be eligible next fall. I think when that passes more so than if, that will affect whatever class is coming through. Roster spots at the Division II level could dissipate really quickly. There are some safeguards in it, in a sense of if a Division I player has exhausted all eligibility, they can't come down into Division II and get that extra year. So they would have to have already been there to get the 5th year. But I mean, like Travis said, it's an ever-changing landscape. It gets muddy. Nobody in Division II is dealing with NIL. I think that's kind of maybe a myth to some degree. There's not very many Division I's that are actually dealing with it. There's not any Division II's that are dealing with it. I guess touching on the transfer portal, it changes a lot of things. I love it because we as a program don't regularly give to it. I've been at Cedarville for 4 years, and only 3 players have transferred out to play elsewhere. But we do get to bring players in after we're able to vet them and they're a good fit for us. We actually have a Dayton player who's with us this spring. It's a great fit. Two. Yeah, 2 roundabout way. And so it's those types of things are cool. And I think that's in some ways why you don't want to burn bridges, because there are several players in our team where they were recruited a second time, whether we said no to them the first go around and then they crushed it wherever they were at and they wanted a different change, or they said no to us and then decided they wanted something different. I think over the past 2 years, we've got 5 or 6 players that had entered the recruiting process with us a second time. So there are opportunities. You don't want to burn bridges going from one program.
We haven't had any changes in Division III for a long time, so nothing there. The transfer portal for us, it's been pretty good. Like I said earlier, bless you. We've had some guys that have chosen to go D1 that we were recruiting, and then for whatever reason it didn't work out for them at that Division I school, and they didn't burn a bridge with us, and we re-recruited them. Once they were in the transfer pool, and we ended up getting those guys, and they've been really good for us. So the transfer pool has been good for us, but again, it's got to be for the right reasons. We're not going to go after a kid that's been in there 3 times and transferred, because it's probably a different reason why he's transferring. This year, it affected us with a couple of players going into the portal for the first time. I think we have a good program. We have good players, and we have players that I have aspirations to play after college, and sometimes that means they want to go D1 before they graduate to kind of get better looks in that scenario. So actually, it was a club Ohio goalkeeper, transferred to a D1 school, Temple, but he was freshman goalkeeper of the year for us in our conference and had a really good career, spent 2 years with us. So it goes both ways. And, we're not going to hold guys back that want to seek better opportunities that they think they can get. So, it works both ways for us in Division 3. But most of the time, since my experience with the pool has been good, and we've got players that have really helped our program.
One more thing to add on that, every program will be different, but there are at times consequences to being able to enter the portal. Like for us, if somebody were to come to us like, hey, I want to enter the portal, they would effectively be done with the team. And that's, I think, a pretty commonplace thing. It's not something that you then get to enter and then get to kind of figure things out and continue with the team. Like it's a big decision and one that shouldn't be taken lightly.
NAI doesn't deal with the portal. They're all giving me jabs about it. So, but but I think the thing that's really important to understand about this, though, is it makes the level of competition amp up even more. I think because we have felt ripples effects even in the NAI about what's going on in the NCAA with players transferring there, transferring here, coming to us, or and so all of those things affect and then create things more competitively, especially if you're an incoming freshman or you're trying to get into a school. I think it adds up to it.
I'm gonna go through a couple of these questions because honestly, it was just me wanting them to say what I wanted them to say. So this one, how important is communication directly from the player compared to parents or club coaches? Parents and club coaches, don't email them. All right, it has to come from the kid. Are you all going to say that? Come from the kid. Come from the kid. This is an interesting one. What questions do you wish recruits asked more often on visits or calls? That's a question I get from kids a lot. Hey, if they ask me a question, what do I ask? What do I say? How do I do this? What's your feedback for them?
I think just asking genuine questions about the program. If you have a little bit of information of how we play or who we are, I think that goes so far. If you know the formation we play, if you know a few past results, or you were at a game, or some of the players, or you're, say you're a right back and you talk about how our right back gets involved, that one shows us that you care. And we're not just one of 20 schools that you're just fishing for, like you've heard multiple times here. So, direct, hey, I see you're playing like this. How do I fit into that? I think I can do very well at getting forward. I think I can tuck in as a 6 from an outside back and help you elevate the ball. So anything that can directly tie you to us and show that you have done your homework is a lot better than any just genuine generic question that you could give.
Yeah, have questions is the most important thing. And in detail, like you said, I think, for me, a big one is kind of come on an overnight. If the coach hasn't already asked you, I like getting players on overnights because they get to meet our guys. They get to see the day-to-day. I just think it's a really important part of the recruiting process is going on an overnight visit. So they can kind of come on an overnight, and it just, again, shows your interest as well, that you want to come back to campus, you want to meet the guys, be around the coaches more. Ask them what the team culture is like. It's kind of, I think this one's important before you do the overnight, because see what the coach says and then ask the players the same thing, and then see what they say as well. I think getting the perspective from the players is really important as well.
Good. Yeah. All right, cool.
Okay.
Let's go this one. So academics, how do academics fit in the recruiting process?
College is expensive, in case you guys didn't know that. Even with athletic scholarships that are potentially available, there's not a single player on the Cedar Grove men's soccer team that's on a full ride from athletics. That's one of the realities. That's more common than I think players or even families would think or realize, but academics are the number one source of aid in those types of settings. I mean, I can't speak for Dayton if they're fully funded or not, but like most schools are not fully funded. And so it takes putting the pieces together. So being able to exceed academically in high school is important because college is also harder. Within Cedarville, I think the minimum GPA to get accepted is a 3.0, but we're also growing. We've grown about 500 students over the past 4 years, and we're running out of housing. So having a strong GPA allows students to get in because it does become a matter of heads and beds. And if there's too many people that want to be at the school, the lower GPAs, even if it is tick over that 3, are going to have a hard time completing the application process and getting in. So at least for our context and setting, grades are extremely important. We want all of our players to be above a 3.0. More than that, we want them to do the best that they can. And if the best that they can is a 3.0, great. If the best they can do is a 4.0, even better. But that grades are extremely important in the high school process and continuing into the college environment.
Yeah, following up, we don't have a single kid who is strictly athletic scholarship. Everyone, to some extent, gets some kind of merit. We're a private school with a pretty high price tag. So the merit scholarship is the biggest way that you're going to cut down your cost and make it start at a realistic number, right? So that might be another question you should ask coaches when you're talking to them. If you have a really good GPA and it's a Division I or a Division II, hey, can you stack scholarships? What's the academic packages? More so important at a Division III where that's all you're going to get. Like, hey, will I qualify for a grant? Will I be able to get more in my sophomore year if I continue to do well? So academics, I think, drives a lot more than kids realize, especially at an early age. I coached for a head coach in Division III who had a rule of all his center backs had to have a 4.0 because he didn't want anyone who would make a mistake. And that's, a little crazy, but hey, it worked out. He's been in the top 25 multiple years. So good for him, but, obviously maybe not that direct to an extent, but yeah, I think it kind of drives one, even if we are looking at you to offer you an athletic scholarship and you have a really good grades and that's going to drop at X amount. 1, you're a quality player, but 2, now I can think of, I've got extra money that can get me a better teammate with you as well. So kind of something to think of 1, not only, is good grades going to make you better, but it might also help to get you a better teammate, which is going to make the team better, which is going to make you look better in the long run.
Division III doesn't do athletic scholarships. All of your aid is going to be grants and your merit award. I think a big thing to remember too is some of our guys forget this. Once you get that merit award that's based on your high school GPA or your SAT, ACT, you have to maintain a certain GPA while you're in college to continue getting that merit award. So if you fall below a certain GPA in college, you could lose that scholarship that you got out of high school. So, getting in is great, but you got to maintain a certain GPA once you're into. And that freshman year is the hardest, I think, in college. It's a lot different than being at home and your parents waking you up and getting you on time and stuff like that. It's time management's a big piece of the freshman college life, and but you can start dealing with that stuff as a high school senior and maintaining those grades and kind of doing those daily habits. I mean, a lot of you seniors have probably finished class at 1 p.m. And then have the rest of your day. So it's similar to college right now anyway.
It definitely affects us because if you have a better GPA, that means financially we are able to go deeper into our roster based on NAIA rules. So if you have a high GPA, that does not count. So we play you a certain amount of minutes. That does not count against our playing time for that individual because they have a high GPA. So the NAIA is pushing basically go get higher GPA individuals is what they're doing. So for us, that's a huge deal because now if I bring in a 4.0 student, I go play you for 4 or 5 games, that doesn't count against us in a scholarship spot, if you want to say it that way.
I have other questions listed here, but I want to go through them and give you guys, I think it's what, 8:15, 8:20 right now. And I had this until 8:30 is what I had it set for. So I want to give you guys some time to ask some questions, and maybe we just rapid fire that with 1 or 2 answers from a college coach. Based on everything that we went over, what did we miss? What questions do you have? No question is a dumb question. And do you have the courage to ask it? Yes. Use the mic. Use the mic, please. No, I'm kidding. There's no mic.
His son had been to like 16 ID camps this past year. At what point do the coaches tell, hey, you're just not a right fit for our program?
So for those in the live feed, the question was, there was a kid that went to a bunch of different ID camps, 16 in total. At what point does a college coach tell you it's just not the right fit? Or I would even maybe on top of that ask, if you as a player, how can you as a player get that answer from a college coach as well?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I'll start. It's a very loaded question because there's no answer, because every coach, every program is different. Just like any industry in the world, there's going to be programs who want to get you to a camp to get your money, and that's the reality of what some situations can be. And that's why we talked about the importance of knowing what your ID camp is and why you're going before then. And then part of we have to vet you out to see if we trust you, if we trust your personality, if we believe everything you're saying. At the same time, every single one of you has to do that with every coach you talk to. 16, if it's at the same program, is a very high number. If it's total, then okay, a little bit more understandable. The next piece, the challenging question you'd have to ask the kid who went to multiple is, what is your question to the coach? Are you just asking for feedback? If you're just asking for feedback, they're going to keep inviting you and keep giving you feedback. If you genuinely ask, where do we fit within the program? Realistically, am I going to meet your expectations before my timeline's done? Then that's a different question. Then maybe that number is way too high. So I think it just depends. Part of the process is you have to trust the coach that you're talking to just as much as they have to trust the player that they're looking to bring in for 4 years. So it's a good luck, figure it out. No one knows the true answer, but how can you kind of navigate to put yourself in the best spot?
That's good.
God, that's
All right.
difficult question.
Another question. Give me a hard one.
I mean, I condone that one. That's a good one. There you go. So I'm not Brian Mason off, but that's a good one.
The email. Did you go for the email, Jonesy?
Did I go through the email? No.
Right.
What makes a good email? Let's see. Which one? There we go. What makes an email or message from a player stand out in a good way versus get ignored?
I think the first thing is start with the correct coach's name. I've had emails before with a different coach's name saying they're really interested in a different school. So right away, I'm deleting that email, regardless of how good you are. I didn't even get to see your name or your highlight video at that point. So, start an email off in the subject. I think, put things about you that stand out. Hey, I'm a center back, 6'3", 2026, Columbus, Ohio, and then your high school. And then start the email, obviously address the correct coach, all the coaches, CC the assistants as well, because if the head coach doesn't see it, the assistants likely will. Include something in the email that stands out to the coach about their school or their program. Hey, I really like your campus because I like your program. I saw you went 12-2-2 and made whatever tournament. Something that stands out specific to that school is important. Include a link to your highlight film, upcoming games. Anything else?
It's correct information for showcases.
Yeah, correct information for showcases, what color kit you're wearing, what number you are, what time you're playing, if you're a goalkeeper, what half you're playing.
It's all pretty good. Mic drop.
Adam should be sending an email out that describes exactly what to put in a communication email.
There's a Google Drive with an email template on it. So thank you, Jason. Thank you. Appreciate it. Speaking of events, this is one thing we haven't touched on. Can college coaches? We've never really done this before, actually. Can you guys talk about the events that you attend to recruit, whether it was this year or what you have upcoming?
Yeah, I think we've hit almost everything, whether it's, MLS Next in Arizona, IMG in Florida, ECNL, RL events, ECNL National, Blue Chip, Gateway, Crossroads. We are lucky enough to have a pretty big staff, with 4 people who are able to go recruit. So, it's not just one of us going to every event. So we're lucky that we can cover so much ground. Different people will go to different areas. I go to a lot of the local ones, but be grateful of whichever one it is. I've seen a lot of people who kind of, shy away if it's one of the assistants or, oh, it's not the head coach, so I don't want to communicate with them, right? The communication can come from me. It can come from our other assistant, our associate, or a head coach, but it all ends up in the same when we meet as a group of 4 to kind of decide on somebody.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, every program is a little bit different. At Cedarville, I do the recruiting. So like I'm the point of contact. I'm typically the one traveling. That's not that the head coach is out of the loop. He's very much in the loop, but in a sense of to try to have transparency and a clarity of message to kids and their families, we felt like it made the most sense that there was one voice. If I'm saying one thing one way and Coach Farrow is trying to say the same thing in his own way, like it can cause confusion. So every program is going to be different, but anytime somebody reaches out to him, that email gets forwarded to me. You're more than welcome to include the head coach and the assistants. A lot of times the assistant is the one that you want to be in contact with, or maybe you develop a good relationship with them. You never know where assistants might pop up in the future as well. And so I think that those things are important. Definitely don't get frustrated that you're talking to the assistant, because a lot of times that is the person you're supposed to be talking to.
Tournaments wise, we pretty much do local, and that just comes from a budgetary standpoint, really, is what it comes down to. We don't have as much money to be able to go down to all but we are still recruiting the local MLS Next. We've signed some ECNL kids, so it's not that we're out of that realm. We're just not traveling to those bigger events. So then or to those, I guess, further, I wouldn't say bigger, but further events. So we end up going to Crossroads, Blue Chip, try to hit those local ones to try to get, some visualization there.
Yeah, we're MLS Next, ECNL, local events, Crossroads, Blue Chip, Iowa Elite, pretty much Midwest, and then during the winter, like I said, Florida and South Carolina.
We got an IMG coming up, right?
IMG, that's Florida. Yeah, I go to England a lot, actually, not to recruit, but you forgot Africa. You just did domestic.
Well, he answered for international.
I did, didn't I?
I think just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, to give you a background on things. When I was in Cincinnati and I was working for Cup, one of the big issues that we had was we were not, while we were the big fish in a small pond in Southwest Ohio, we were not going to the big events. And so we created a college recruiting coordinator position because we needed to do extra work to get people in front of coaches. And frankly, the USYS events, even with Cup's name attached to it, wasn't enough in terms of getting the exposure for our kids. When I came to Club Ohio, we had the same issue. It was the same exact league as Cup. We had the same problems, and so when we were going to these showcases, they weren't that well attended, and so we had to rely heavily on film, on ID camps, on local showcases, and on trying to get local colleges to league games, which is difficult. They have quite a schedule. We're now in a situation where we're at the biggest events in the country. Club Ohio is there. And so that makes my job easier. And it makes your job easier in a sense, because you are now seen in a way that we have never been seen before as a club. And MLS Next Fest, in terms of the amount of people that were there for a college recruiting showcase, for me as a youth coach, it was something I've never seen before. Last year when we went to IMG, it was a level of recruitment that I've never seen before, whether it was at Cup or whether it was at Club Ohio. And you have the opportunity now to be seen. That means that you have to do the work that we have talked about here. And that means getting good grades. Number one, to put yourself in a position to be recruited. None of this matters. None of it. I want you to take that into account. None of this matters if you don't get good grades. So make sure you take care of that. Number two, all right, everything they talked about up here, all right, revolved around being a good human being, all right, being a great athlete, doing work outside of what we do in training to separate yourself from just good. We are talking good to great. That's what they are talking about here. All right. So that's your job. All right. And then it's doing the work outside of our games and our training. It's sending the emails. It's being a good human and following up. It's understanding that you will hear no or you will hear nothing more than you hear yes. And it's being persistent to find the right fit. You have a great opportunity in front of you because you're a Club Ohio player. You have a great opportunity in front of you because you go to the biggest showcases in the country. You have a great opportunity in front of you because every single day you train with really, really good players. And most of you have good coaches, all right, minus the 2010s and 2011s. But don't worry, there's other coaches here soon, okay? So take advantage of the situation, all right? Understand where you're at, okay? Make the most of the opportunities that are in front of you, okay? And be great people and be great soccer players. Thanks, fellas, for everything. I'm sure they'll hang around, and if you have questions, they'll be here to chat. For those of you that are on YouTube, just make sure you subscribe, like my channel. What else do I say? What else do I say? Hey, chat. I've changed a lot now that I'm a YouTube star, guys. So if you don't recognize me, that's why. But thank you for being here. See you guys.
Travis, did you coach the Burnett twins? Owen and Jared Burnett?
Yeah.
No, that's crazy.
Appreciate you being here, man. Thanks.
I still talk to Owen.
To Owen?
Yeah.
You have the 11s and 10s, huh?
The
2010,
Twin
2011
Towers
is what they were called when I was a senior. I was hired to be like U17 unit. And then we ended up winning our U17 which was 2010. So they shoved me on that. And I had coached young ages like that for a while. Where were you Saturday?
Saturday. I didn't have a ride. My mom was in Florida.
Oh, text me and let me know if you're not going to be training.
What's up? How are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm St. Peter's. I'm trying to reach out a little bit.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
I don't know if you're able to see it.
What?
I've updated my
Thanks. Okay.
So
Yeah. Shoved me with Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Yep.
No,
What's up, young man? How you been? Good to see you. Yeah. How's things? Yeah. 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 Good. She's doing well.
striker, winger, on the side.
Yeah.